naye kyamazima some of this information tetunaba kugifuna era bwagamba nti atuwandikidde amabaluwa gabeewo nga gajja gye tuli ng'ate ng'ebintu bigenda mu maaso kyo si kituufu.
Second quarter eno gye tulimu kati ku akawunti yaffe eya works and technical services tekunnabaako yadde ekikumi.
This they did in the presence of the Prime Minister Robin Anabanja. She was here to do what she does best, enforcing accountability for effective service delivery.
Na yero this committee bwe mala okutuula ate mutuwala mu kanso neeyisa kanso yatuula okuyisa enguudo zino.
Ndi opposition oli opposition kati kanyonyole ekituufu. Let me be open. When we want to solve issues, we need to be realistic on our dear honorable members of parliament.
Bamemba ba parliament bali wano. Chairman LC5 ali wano. Bwe manyi n'ekitundu kyenkiikirira. Nange mba njagala abantu beewange babakolera oluguudo. Tuli ffenna. Era y'ensonga lwaki etteeka lino lyajja ababaka ba parliament batuule ku meeza we basalirawo.
Abakulembeze baffe ba MP protocol wise they don't attend council. And I'm getting to you, let me explain to you. I'm explaining because you get council resolutions nebisalidwa mu council no biteeka mu nkola. Madam Prime Minister buuza ku ba MP bange bano abataano abali wano anayina work plan ya district. We have what they call a 5-year development plan. That's where we're missing that point.
At the end of the day, a directive was issued for district road committee meetings to resume.
Enamayuba amazinga bwe gava ku lusozi wano mwami Katumba wotandise okukola leerwe we gayita n'enfuufu yonna n'ebitaka bw'ogenda ebbanda kyandaaza ebitaka bikozeewo n'eggulumu emmotoka zinoonya we zitomerera.
Obwa chairman wonna we tugenze okujjako wano n'empigi wonna bamemba ba parliament be ba chairperson tasobola kuyita lukiiko nga tamanyi kumala kukola mu banne singa buli kimu mukimanyi naye obuyinza mwabugaba. Kakati going forward mulabe omukummwe akwate enkasi mubeere nga mugoberera nga mugoberera nga mugoberera ndowooza ekyo kiwedde.
The situation was however different from that of Buikwe, where leaders reported some progress.
Subira Buyukwe district simanyi waliyo challenges enguudo of course zibeeramu n'ebisoomooza but tuli ku 50% nga Buyukwe district.
The engagement was enough to appreciate that road infrastructure is the driver of development across the country.
Before October 10th, tulizinga cash limits. Kakati omwezi kugenda kuggwako ogw'October. Abantu bagamba nti tebannalaba kuki ku ssente. Waliwo bureaucracy awo etategerekeka wakati wa road fund ne ssente okutuuka mu local governments. Ate ekikosa service delivery.
This engagement in Greater Mukono brought together leaders from the districts of Kayunga, Buvuma, Buikwe and Mukono. It is part of the ongoing accountability engagements in the country, with recent ones held in Greater Luwero and Greater Mpigi. Henry Okrut, UBC.
Thank you, Henry Okrut. Now, in more of our top stories for the day, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has expressed the need to address the challenges affecting Africa through regional integration. The President communicated this during the closure of the 3-day East African Court of Justice Conference held in Kampala.
The second East African Court of Justice Judicial Conference that brought together representatives from East African Community Partner States Friday ended here in Kampala. The closure of the conference was officiated by the President of Uganda, His Excellency John Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. President Museveni reiterated the need for integration if member states are to address the challenges that affect them.
Buy my beef, buy my bananas, the market, integrating the market. Then we can add other things, slowly, but carefully, If you mishandle integration, it can backfire. I think this is really both in your area and in my area. It is both an issue of strategy, but also an issue of legality. We are fragmented in effort. That's why we cannot solve small problems like Somalia, this Congo here, DRC. These are small problems. They are not big problems. But if you don't act together, what is small becomes big.
President Museveni added that judiciary should be keen on issues in regard to land disputes.
Which are the matters that should be for integration, and which are the ones which should remain local? I don't think land should ever be a federal matter, because that will divert us, will cause unnecessary arguments. It should always remain either a state matter or even in our cases it is a district matter.
The President of East African Court of Justice, Honorable Nestroy Kayobere, expressed the need to expand the budget allocation of the East African Court of Justice.
It is indeed regrettable that there has been delay in establishing and operationalizing the court's administration and financial autonomy of the court, even after the respect bill has been adopted by the Council of Ministers in the past 6 years.
The Chief Justice of Uganda, Alfonso Wunyidolo, says there is need to have a robust judiciary, which will help in bringing justice closer to the people.
An effective judiciary, the East African Court of Justice, to ensure that it can effectively exercise its mandate of interpreting the community treaty and ensuring that the rule of law prevails.
In attendance were other delegates, including the Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, Norbert Mau, and the Minister for East African Affairs, Rebecca Litwala Kadaga.
And we are very looking forward to the increased mandate, which will enable the court now to arbitrate on issues of the customs union and the common market protocol, which is the core of our collaboration.
When we talk about equality in the Constitution, it should be about equality of opportunity to stay alive. A country that cannot immunize its babies cannot be said to be providing equality of opportunity. A country that cannot provide health services and food security cannot be said to be providing equality of opportunity or even the right to life. While making your decisions, don't forget about our context, the historical conditions. Our traditions are also very important.
The East African Court of Justice is expected to hold court sessions from 2nd November to 1st December 2022 to hear and deliver judgments in cases filed by people from the East African Community member states. The member states include Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya, Burundi, Rwanda, South Sudan and Democratic Republic of Congo. Deborah Namamonde, Dan Lugemoa, UBC News.
Now, on the lighter note, for the people of Mubende and Kasanda, was saying the government has finally dispatched of food relief to Kasanda and Mubende districts, which are currently under 21 days of Ebola lockdown, according to Minister for ICT, Dr. Chris Bariomonsi. The relief package, which includes posho and beans, will mainly bail out border operators, tax operators, and vendors who are the first line losers of the lockdown.
In a televised address on 15th October 2022, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni announced a 21-day lockdown for Kasanda and Mubende districts following the surge in Ebola infections and death. 11 days down the road, government has stepped in with a relief consignment to the affected districts.
Today, we have dispatched food relief items to the two districts of Mubende and Kasanda. We have given posho, beans and other supplies to help those who are gravely affected by the measures announced by the President.
According to the Minister for Information, Communication, Technology and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Waryomusi, the targeted beneficiaries will include the following.
Like the border riders who are not earning now, the taxi drivers who are not earning now, the roadside market vendors like the women who sell on the roadside, all those starting today are going to get relief support so that they can be able to survive. So we continue to urge our people to appreciate that Ebola is a very deadly disease and follow the guidelines and the measures announced by the health workers and the Ministry of Health so that we can completely defeat it.
Has been attacked by a deadly disease.
Downtown Kampala, taxi and bus operators are reactivating the COVID-19 SOPs to tame the Ebola spread amidst rumors of sanctioning lockdown for Kampala Metropolitan.
We have seen that all our passengers who are entering in the bus terminal wash their hands with the soap and clean water thoroughly, because that is the only way we can control the spread of Ebola disease. And secondly, we are currently undergoing an exercise of sensitizing and informing all people of Namaiba bus terminal and all those who are entering into Namaiba bus terminal to resume, because there was a bit of relaxed in putting on masks and observing standard operating procedures.
There are fears that we might announce a lockdown for people of Kampala. For now, we have not taken a decision to lock down Kampala, but we continue to urge all Ugandans in Kampala and outside Kampala to take precaution. We did advise that we should stop shaking of hands and where you can avoid being in body contact with another person. Take precautionary measures like washing hands and all those hygiene and safety measures that help you to avoid or prevent that risk of getting infected.
Minister Dr. Chris Waryomusi is however quick to note that if the worst befalls, government will not hesitate locking down Kampala Metropolitan.
Regulate the numbers who access some of these buildings so that you avoid congestion. Otherwise, if you do not know, you don't do this, then you will be attracting possibilities of lockdown, which, in all fairness, we wouldn't want to impose, because we have gone through it under COVID. We know how disruptive it can be. People are recovering from the effects of COVID and containment measures. So that should be a last resort, but we want people to cooperate.
For inter-border transporters and passengers from Uganda, especially within the East African region, surveillance and adherence to Ebola SOPs has been beefed up.
They are asked their LC status by checking them again to see if they are having any signs and symptoms of Ebola.
Robert Onyango, UBC News.
Thank you, Onyango. Now, in other news, Intergovernmental Agency for Development, IGAD, member states have resolved to review existing national, legal and policy frameworks on land use and management to secure land rights and ensure optimal use of the land for overall efficiency, equitability, productivity and sustainability, officiating the sectoral ministers' meeting on land and conflict in IGAD region at Speak Resort Munyonyo. A Minister for Lands and Urban Development, Judith Nabakoba, expressed Uganda's commitment to implement the regional agenda on land conflict through coming up with a land use plan and intensifying information to the communities to understand land rights.
From policy to community level. This was during a sectoral ministers meeting following a high-level conference where reports from assessments of IGAD member countries on land and climate change conflict were discussed.
Our region needs prompt action and a full commitment by all of us and our governments in addressing land and climate change conflicts so that we can have food security, peace and stability, growth and sustainable development.
So as we talk about peace, one of the most important considerations is that we can move beyond resolving our conflicts and look at partnerships which can assist us to look at how we can actually use the resolve the conflicts.
Member states signed a communique with resolutions to take steps and ensure adoption of indigenous and traditional norms in the prevention and management of land disputes, plus entrenching dispute resolution mechanisms like mediation and negotiation.
The judges who are mandated to handle these cases, they are few. For example, in Uganda, we have only one land division. Yet elsewhere, you could find that each county has a land and environmental court which is responsible for managing of land-related cases.
Support and strengthen alternative justice systems, including traditional dispute resolution mechanisms, ensuring that women and youth rights are understood, discriminatory practices outlawed, and forbidding forum shopping between alternative justice system and the formal systems, as well as gender balance in specialized courts.
They also discussed ways to encourage communities to adopt safer and resilient farming systems like crop rotation and protect the quality of land and ensure food security.
We shall ensure land tenure security is achieved through addressing the multiple interests on the land, but also giving out titles to groups, but also individuals and households. We shall emphasize land use plan and fiscal planning, being mindful of urbanization, the population growth in most of our countries.
Member states committed to climate change financing to reduce green gas emissions and resources for operationalization of the transformative agenda. I'm Nafka Farida and Joel Vubia at Munyonyo.
The African Union Mission in Somalia, ATMIS, a Force Commander Lieutenant General Diomande Ndegea has applauded the Uganda military contingent in Somalia for its role in pacification and stabilization of Somalia. General Ndegea said Ugandan troops had played a significant role in pacification of Mogadishu city and the areas of Lower Ashambela where Uganda troops are deployed. This was said in the remarks delivered for him by the ATMIS Deputy Force Commander in charge of operations, Major General Williams Shume, during the medal award ceremony to the Uganda battle groups 33 during their conclusion of their tour of duty. The ATMIS Force Commander particularly thanked the outgoing forces for securing the presidential and parliamentary elections of Mogadishu City and Base Camp during their tour of duty. We feel proud and appreciate you for the job well done. You deserve this African Union medal because you have earned it, said the Force Commander. The Uganda Military Contingent Commander, Brigadier General Keith Katunji, thanked the battle group for what they were able to achieve, including acting as a blocking force to deter Al-Shabaab from infiltrating Mogadishu City by dominating all entry points to Mogadishu City. He further thanked the battle group for keeping a good civil-military relationship with the population where they were deployed as per the UPDF tradition of being pro-people. The outgoing battle group commander, Colonel Ezra Mwinyi, thanked the contingent commander for the unwavering support and continuous guidance during his tour of duty. This, he said, was very key for the success of the battle group. The incoming battle group, that is 35, Commander Colonel John Mositwa thanked his predecessor, Colonel Ezra Mwinyi Biarhanga, who prioritizing force and equipment protection. He pledged to build from the firm foundation he had laid and promised to emulate him. Battle Group 33, which was 18 strong Forbes, occupied areas of Mogadishu City, Albiska, Alboa, Latabu, and Beldogal with 08 forward operating bases, and was also key in providing security to the 12 internally displaced people's camps in the area. Battle Group 34 will now take over responsibilities in the area. The battle groups serve a one-year tour of duty in the African Union supported mission, dubbed the African Union Transition Mission in Somalia. Battle 33 rotated in the mission in October 2021.
Next story, number 5.
Number 5.
in those 8 FOBs are proud and happy for what you did. The Somali security forces, specifically the SNA, that you have continued to mentor.
Now, moving on, members of parliament, especially those on the health committee, are calling on cabinet, especially the Ministry of Health, to hasten the process of having a national health insurance scheme law for Ugandans. Health statistics show that Ugandans spend 41% on health expenditure and another 41% is paid by external donors. And members of parliament maintain that this has kept a sizable number of the population in a vicious cycle of poverty.
There has always been consensus that Uganda's health sector is underfunded and cannot deliver the minimum health care package to Ugandans. It is against this background that the National Health Insurance Scheme is looked at as a catalyst to achieving universal health coverage by financing for health through pooling of resources. It is worth remembering that the National Health Insurance Scheme Bill was passed by Parliament in March 2021, but was not ascended to by the President. Members of the Parliament, particularly those on the Health Committee, are furious that this well-intentioned scheme meant to improve access to health care has delayed to see the light of the day.
So for me, I think we need to compose ourselves into a strong advocacy team that is going to bring his constituents on board, the constituents of Musei, the other elderly who are suffering, the elders, because those are the people that suffer with the medication that we are talking about. We bring his constituents on board. Those elderly women you see in Parliament, they speak for this thing.
Now come on board and decide if government is not ready to bring it back first, then we can think of how to bring it as a private member's bill.
The chairperson of the Health Committee, Dr. Charles Ayume, pledges the support of his committee towards the attainment of the National Health Insurance Scheme for the country.
You keep on putting money into a pool and in anticipation of a risk, which risk we do not know, that we don't know exactly when that risk will come. And the risk in this case is poor health, whether it's an accident, whether it is malaria and so many other things. So you're putting little money, but you're going to benefit from economies of scale by many people putting money into a risk. And as a country, we are looking at how do we also look for alternative avenues of domestic financing, and national health insurance is one of those that we have looked at.
The Deputy Chairperson of the Parliamentary Health Committee, Joel Sebikali, is dismayed that majority of Ugandans have remained in poverty because a high proportion of their income is spent on medical expenses.
If our members in the community, they lose 41% of their total income annually to cater for these programs, then you cannot expect these people to grow economically. Not forgetting that our SDGs, number one of them, nowadays I'm studying and I was told to make a notice on SDGs. Number one is no poverty. Number 3 is health and well-being. When you provide medicines, trained personnel, infrastructure, everything, then the money that would be spent on these other diseases, on treatment, can develop these people.
The front desk officer for National Health Insurance at the Ministry of Health, Ali Walimbwa, concedes that the National Health Insurance Scheme will act as a social protection mechanism for Ugandans.
It is also supposed to be a social protection mechanism, that when people fall sick, they shouldn't die at home, or they shouldn't sell their property, but they should be resilient in terms of making sure that they are protected. Therefore, it will be helping people to avoid risks of selling their property seeking healthcare late, but also has a benefit of making sure that those who have subsidize those who don't have.
Renowned health experts like Professor Francis Wamaswa point out that the country's leadership needs to be convinced that the National Health Insurance Scheme is possible and can be successfully implemented.
We don't have a National Health Insurance Scheme, but let's have it. Let's make it happen. So why is it not happening? What's the gap? In my assessment, the biggest gap is that we have not convinced His Excellency the President that this is a good thing to do. That is the gap. Maybe he is convinced that it's a good thing to do, but we have not convinced him that we can do it without embarrassing the government.
Partners in Population and Development, an intergovernmental alliance of 25 developing countries, including Uganda, is supporting the realization of the National Health Insurance Scheme through health-focused partners.
The biggest role of government here is to regulate, to pass policy, to have this well, regulated and put in place. The first important thing that if I am calling out to government is to say, have this bill passed in Parliament and create a law, formulate whatever procedure they will take. I know that now the regulation has been and it had been passed. They will form an agency and people will align to that, something akin to National Social Security Fund or some people and individuals will contribute money to that fund. But this must be regulated by government. The biggest role by government now to this issue of national health insurance is to regulate, to pass a law. This we have been at for the last more than 30 years. I don't know why government is not passing this law.
The National Health Insurance Scheme is a pathway to achieving health system reforms that can support the pursuit of universal health coverage. Sada Mubale, Adia Nakuti, UBC News.
MTN joins the people of Keralur to celebrate the 12th coronation anniversary of the King of Keralur, His Royal Majesty Ubim Philip Rauni III in October. At MTN, we believe that we only succeed if the communities in which we operate succeed. And so, we're happy to join the people and well-wishers of the people of Keralur in promoting social cultural programs of the Ubim.
Walego mugisa ni Ubimu ku Keralur.
At Timex Nutrition Center, we advise you on the right foods to eat, exercise profile to adopt, and lifestyle strategies which are compatible to your blood group and genotype. This empowers your body to prevent and treat many diseases like diabetes, blood pressure, arthritis, ulcers, obesity, and many others. For more information, find us at our head office in Kampala on Nassa Road, Conrad Plaza, 2nd floor, or call 0758 819 952 or 0778 288 361. We also have other branches in Bara and Jinja.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial *149*10# to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial *149*10*5#. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial *149*10# to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
The Electricity Disputes Tribunal is a specialized quasi-judicial body established under Section 93 of the Electricity Act to handle all civil cause disputes relating, but not limited to, regulatory disputes, billing and licensing, tariffs, power generation, transmission and distribution issues, compensation resulting from activities in the electricity sector including civil wrongs and breaches of statutory and contractual duties and consumer-related complaints. The Electricity Disputes Tribunal is a special court and the first instance court that deals with electricity matters in the country. For more information, please contact the Electricity Disputes Tribunal at Amber House, Kampala Road, opposite Post Office, or call us on 041 232987.
Welcome to Friends Stadium. Everybody's ready. Wait a second, not everybody. Come on, dude, it's the FIFA World Cup. You're going to lose your seat, the ritual seat, the lucky one. Losing more than a seat, your team is going to lose. Where are you, dude? The match is about to start. Your friends won't hold out much longer. Excuse me. Finally, everything is in the right place. Hey, other hand. And you, do you have everything you need to believe?
Did you know that women constitute majority of Uganda's population? However, the high numbers do not match the level of participation of girls and young women in sports. Some of the challenges contributing to low female participation in sports include negative cultural norms, lack of parental support, sexual harassment, gender stereotypes, unequal recognition and remuneration, among others. Everyone has a responsibility to encourage a girl or young woman join a sport of her choice, support girls or young women in active sports to excel, above all, make sports safe, violence-free and inclusive. This message is brought to you by the Mentoring and Empowerment Program for Young Women, MEMPRO.
Thank you for watching and staying with us. And more news this lovely Friday. UBC's Gloria Gwitabingi is the new Uganda Parliamentary Press Association Vice President after going through an opposed. Position of president was taken by NBS's Sam Ibanda Mugabe, who polled 76 votes against 64 votes for his rival, Francis Lubega, in a tight race that happened at Parliament.
Executive positions were up for elections, but many positions went uncontested after majority of the candidates went through unopposed. These include UBC's Gloria Gwitabingi, who went through as Vice President, Daily Monitor's Damali Mukaye as Deputy Secretary General, among others. NBS journalist Sam Ibanda Mugabe, who won as the next president of Uganda Parliamentary Press Association, winning with a difference of 12 votes.
Accordingly, as the returning officer, I declare Samuel Ibanda, who has attained the largest number of votes, winner of the race for UPPA president.
It was jubilations as the returning officer of Uganda Parliamentary Press Association, Isaac Senabulia, announced Sam Ibanda Mugabe as the next president, replacing New Vision's Moses Mulondo, who had served for 2 terms.
74, 75, 76.
Sam Ibanda Mugabe as president and Gloria Gwitabingi as vice president, plus the whole team, promised to bring on board the leadership of parliament, fighting for human rights of journalists and welfare.
And my advice to my competitor, who is also my colleague, my friend, Francis Lubega, is to accept that the election has been free and fair. And I'm asking him to make sure that we join hands and then work for this great Uganda Parliamentary Press Association. This association needs all of us. This association is not for Ibanda only, but for all members who do their reporting from Parliament.
And we believe that Ibanda is the guy, is the man that will lead this association all together. We have believed in him from the start, and this is the reason why we gave him the trust. But most importantly, the Uganda Parliamentary Press Association right now needs a very clear-minded leadership, and Sam Ibanda would do that job very well.
I am ready to work with him, and I am very, very confident that when we start off this time, our organization will not be the same.
Supporters of the two camps welcomed the outcome of the elections. Shamim Naiga and Gloria Gutabinji, Parliament.
Thank you, Shamim, for the report, and congratulations to our very own, that is Gloria Gutabinji. Thank you for representing the national broadcaster. Now, in other updates, a College of Veterinary Medicine, Animal Resources and Biosecurity, COVAB, Makerere University has developed a tool that will monitor and control of antimicrobial use and antimicrobial resistance in livestock in low and middle-income countries. This was revealed during a stakeholders meeting on the management of animal diseases and antimicrobial use by information and communication technology to control AMR in East Africa. Antimicrobial resistance is a leading global health and development threat, and inappropriate antimicrobial use in livestock, and one of the leading causes of increasing antimicrobial resistance. It is against this backdrop that COVAB developed a tool to monitor and control antimicrobial use and antimicrobial resistance in livestock in low and middle-income countries.
The technology system, it is going to be a computer-based, but also an app-based on the phone for the farmers. Is to connect farmers to drug shop dealers, technical people to support them with information, but also the system should be accessed by policy makers to assess the level of compliance, the level of use, so that they can make the necessary recommendations.
So my advice to the public is, one, do not use antibiotics unless they are prescribed to you by a healthcare worker. Also to farmers, do not give your animals antibiotics unless they are what? They are prescribed by a vet practitioner. Many of the healthcare workers that are prescribing antibiotics are not prescribing them. Many times they are prescribing them inappropriately.
Antimicrobial resistance occurs when some of the germs, bacteria, virus or fungus that cause infections resist the effects of the medicines used to treat them. This may lead to treatment failure or the inability to treat the cause of the infection. The project will be rolled out in Wakiso district and is aimed at mapping out the veterinary drug distribution chain and drug use in the district.
We should be what we call consumer aware sensitive. We should know what type of chicken we are eating, what type of meat we are eating, where has it been raised. For example, you should know that if animals are sick and they are treated, they are not supposed to be sold and consumed immediately. There is what we call withdrawal period for different drugs. You are supposed only to eat the meat or milk from that animal if it has gone beyond those days of withdrawal period, and mostly it is from 7 days and above. But today an animal is sick, it is injected, a farmer says that, oh, I'm likely to lose this animal, rushes and sells it to the market. Now for you, the consumer, you are happy to go and buy the what? Buy the meat. Especially these chicken which are sold in cages along the streets are very, very dangerous, because they feed them on antibiotics on a daily basis in water to keep them alive until they slaughter them for you. Those are very, very dangerous.
Scientists say that if left unchecked, by 2050, AMR may contribute up to 10 million deaths per year, with low and middle-income countries like Africa being victims. Story compiled by Zahara Abikaba. Now, the livestock scientists at National Agricultural Research Organization, NARO, have developed a candidate vaccines for the control of ticks infesting cattle. The vaccines are developed based on the local ticks to trigger production of antibodies, which in turn disable tick feeding and disease transmission to reduce on huge economic losses.
National Agriculture Research Organization scientists are moving towards developing a lasting solution to the tick challenge that has caused substantial economic losses to livestock farmers. 4 injectable anti-tick vaccines have been developed. The final round of the field trials of these particular vaccines was conducted at Mbarara Zonal Agriculture Institute.
Meeting of experts that came from NARO, from Makerere University, from Gulu University, from the Uganda Wildlife Authority, and from MAIF. And this meeting aimed at developing what we call an immediate solution a mid-term solution and a long-term solution to the problem of tick-borne diseases in this country.
Mainly within the cattle corridor, the most common ticks challenging the sector are brown ear ticks, the blue tick, and the red ticks.
This is a big problem that our farmers actually suffer, and it's a problem that we have come to resolve.
The anti-tick vaccines promise an effective intervention of tick-borne pathogens that control tick infestations.
We made the extraction, we made the isolation, and we were able to come up with candidate vaccines. And these candidate vaccines were taken through what is called the proof of concept. In the proof of concept, we deal with small animals, actually the mice.
Overall, the animal resource-based industry in the country is estimated to contribute about 17% of the GDP, but unfortunately, the industry is plagued by unharmonized policies that hinder its growth.
We believe once we harmonize this policy, then we can control disease in the entire EAC region.
Stakeholders attribute the need for government to invest in research and innovation for solutions in the cattle corridor.
If these initiatives of the scientists are boosted with budget support, working together with the Ministry of Trade and other, and we commercialize them and link them to extension, surely research and farmers will now be.
The National Agriculture Research Organization has produced a total of 3,000 doses of vaccine trials that will be carried out in Masindi, Ibanda, Apak, and Nabila Tug districts. Lydia Chomkama, Joseph Muyingo for UBC News.
So, ndi wano kubategeeza nti MTN Kampala Marathon ekomyewo. Era nga ku mulundi guno tudduka ku lw'abaana ba baby. Temunfuna bubi, sitegeeza buno bubebi obusiba mu ndongo. No. Ate era sitegeeza bino bibebi ebirya ssente. Nedda bannange njogera ku mabujje gano.
Wegatte emisinde gya MTN Kampala Marathon eginaabawo nga 20/11/2022 okwewandiisa nyiga *M6577# oba kozesa Momo app.
At Timex Nutrition Center, we advise you on the right foods to eat, exercise profile to adopt, and lifestyle strategies which are compatible to your blood group and genotype. This empowers your body to prevent and treat many diseases like diabetes, blood pressure, arthritis, ulcers, obesity, and many others. For more information, find us at our head office in Kampala on Nassa Road, Conrad Plaza, 2nd floor, or call 0758 819 952 or 0778 288 361. We also have other branches in Bara and Jinja.
The Ministry of Health informs the public that there are confirmed cases of Ebola in Uganda. We, however, urge the public not to panic as the situation is being managed. The Ministry of Health further reminds the public to be on the lookout for any persons who may show signs and symptoms of Ebola. These include high body temperature, abdominal pains, diarrhea, vomiting, bleeding from the body openings such as the nose, eyes, and mouth. Please inform the nearest health worker immediately if you see anyone with these signs and symptoms. To prevent Ebola from spreading further, please take the following preventive measures: regular washing of hands with water and soap, avoid handshaking and hugging, avoiding any contact with any suspected Ebola patients. Any person who dies suddenly should not be buried but reported to the nearest health worker or LC1 immediately. For further information, please call the Ministry of Health toll-free number on 0800 700-066 or send a free SMS to your report on 8500. This message is from the Ministry of Health with support from UNICEF and World Health Organization.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial star 149 star 10 hash to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial star 149 star 10 star 5 hash. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial star 149 star 10 hash to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
News tonight it is. It's always a pleasure to have your company. Now, in more news coming from the business world, seeing the Uganda Revenue Authority intention to introduce a 10% VAT on concentrates is lauded by the newly formed Uganda Animal Feeds Manufacturers Association. Concentrates, a major component in the making of animal feeds, especially for chicken and pigs, are mostly imported. However, the association believes the country has the capacity to satisfy demand.
Uganda Animal Feeds Manufacturers Association has welcomed the decision by Uganda Revenue Authority on taxing imported concentrates used in the manufacturing of animal feeds.
These guys were importing in concentrates, were lying to government and people that there is no quality in Uganda, that there is no quantity in Uganda, you see. And their aim was to just let these concentrates come in paying no tax, killing an industry that has been there for more than 30 years. So we had to game up, pull up our socks and join the battle. Because when we saw that government has imposed that tax, we wrote to government saying, kudos man, that is what we've been looking for. Yes.
According to the interim chairman of the association, Aimebo Barismana, the move is timely and pro-development since it boosts local content in the sector as well as support government's import substitution agenda.
Dennis, I can assure you, Uganda has capacity, Uganda has quality. Let nobody lie to us that we do not have. Yes, maybe we have poor methodologies. Maybe we have poor laboratory research, but these are things that we can work on.
Although the new tax measures have not yet been enforced, the revenue body has clarified on their intention to introduce the 10% tax.
After a series of consultation with all the stakeholders in this sector and with the line ministries, on the side of URA, we've taken some administrative measures. One, not to enforce the collection of the taxes that we had assessed, but two, to recommend for improvements in the law so that those grey areas that are not covered can be sorted out going forward.
The Commissioner General's sentiments are re-echoed by Moses Kagwa, a senior official at the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development.
2 percentage points of GDP is estimated to be lost through exemptions. So we have had a tax exemption rationalization plan looking at all these exemptions. We are doing a cost-benefit analysis and we'll be recommending those tax exemptions that we see are not of any value, but they are tax eroding.
Importers of premix and concentrates had in the recent weeks challenged the move by the tax body, arguing that any new tax will adversely affect their sector, leading to the collapse of many struggling enterprises. Dennis Igoa for UBC Business.
Thank you, Dennis Sigoa. Now, more from our business lineup. The Prime Minister, Robin Nabanja, has implored investors to venture and invest more in agro-processing sector for the benefit of Ugandans. Nabanja argues that since Uganda's economy is still heavily reliant on agriculture, any investment that targets improvement of the agriculture sector is by all means a pro-people venture that attracts government's full support to thrive. The Premier said this while officiating the launch of ABC House, a showroom for interior design and products in Bugolobi. The agriculture sector is the backbone of Uganda's economy as its main source of livelihood and employment for over 60% of the population. Unfortunately, due to poor methods, returns on investment are never commensurate to the effort employed. Now, Prime Minister Robin Nabanja thinks this can only be addressed with increased investment in agro-processing sector, especially in areas of value addition, thus better prices for the produce.
I am pleased to also hear that ABC Group plans to invest in agro-processing, that is to add value to our agricultural products, and also setting up a furniture manufacturing plant. This is a welcome idea.
Nabanja also warned investors to partake of the advantages of Buy Uganda, Build Uganda Bubu policy, like accessible and affordable raw materials. Premier Nabanja was presiding over the launch of a one-stop center-like showroom for interior products in Bugolobi.
I would like to see more and more of the products displayed in this showroom bear the logo Made in Uganda.
The management of the ABC House Group says already its investment has created close to 100 jobs for Ugandans.
Because of the culture, the people, everything is fantastic because the more relationship values.
For my fellow Ugandans who have been employed here, be truthful so that ABC company can flourish and develop with us.
Mohamed Madani, the chairman ABC Group, says the launch is a precursor to a wide range of investments in Uganda and beyond.
I think before 1 year or 1.5 years prior to that, we first going to educate the farmers in the villages where there's a lot of vacant land, where they can start planting the trees and everything, because we need more trees as well to do the furniture.
We are focusing on more high-end category of products that are suitable for the upcoming generations.
Yes, as the Prime Minister, of course, she's supposed to.
Now, before we let you go, of course, an update from sports. After winning almost all medals on the international scene, Olympic and world champion Joshua Cheptegei is keen on talent identification. Cheptegei has set foot in football as a brand ambassador of Admin Football Club in Tororo. He believes that the young ones can make it, just like he did in athletics if given chance.
World and Olympic champion Joshua Cheptegei is not only known for running at the track, but equally for his love for other sports disciplines. From building his own endurance center, Cheptegei was unveiled as an ambassador for Admin Football Club. Admin Football Club, based in Tororo, was formulated in 2013 and is rebranding as a big and competitive club. Playing in the regional league, they believe they can break the ceiling this year to progress to the big league for the first time. At a fundraising dinner to set pace for the club, Cheptegei revealed key aspects in sports that include endurance, discipline and hard work as factors that will lead not only Admin Football Club to success, but other sports personalities as well.
It's not about your location. I've had some people complain, oh, you know what? That the problem we cannot achieve our dreams in our country. Oh, the government's bad. Think about it. It is your mindset which is not working properly. It's about your mindset.
At a function graced by key government officials from Tororo district, including the DPC Tororo, Fred Ahimbisiwe, and Tororo district LC5 chairman, John Okeya, Cheptegei donated 5 million Uganda shillings towards the development of Admin Football Club. The club managed to collect up to 25 million Uganda shillings during the fundraising dinner, and they believe they are set to compete. Admin Football Club will be hosting its games at King George Stadium in Tororo. Unveiling the 5-year plan for the club, Owar Henry, the president of the club, highlighted CAF Champions League football as the ultimate goal.
We have a plan to play in the Uganda Premier League as admin in the next 5 years, and we are going to work very hard to make sure that we accomplish this mission. Then we have a plan to make sure that Admin FC lifts at least a trophy within the next 5 years, which we are working as a team to make sure that we bring this on the ground.
Admin Football Club, who rebranded as a community-based club, will compete in the Uganda Cup this season, and having Tororo as their fan base, they believe they will compete favorably.
Well, Muhammad Mugalu, a sign language interpreter right here, will be joining me yet again at the hour of 10 p.m. for more news. So you can definitely expect quite a lot of activities that have been taken a toll and, of course, happening all over our nation, Uganda. That will be for that particular newscast. Keep watching UBC. A lot is coming your way. Thank you so much for joining us for this particular newscast that is coming your way live from Broadcast House, Nile Avenue, from the hour of 8 p.m. It's been a pleasure spending time with you. See you soon.
It's Freaky Friday from Airtel. Buy or gift. Buy or give.
Get freaky too! Dial *149*10# to load a Freaky Friday bundle for you to enjoy the best offers on voice and data.
To buy a bundle for friends and family, dial *149*10*5#. Freaky Friday with Airtel. Buy or gift a bundle today. Dial *149*10# to get started. Airtel, the smartphone network.
I see a mighty move of the Holy Ghost in Uganda in 2022.
Revival, restoration, reconciliation is here as Uganda celebrates 60 years. This is the year 2022. The revival, restoration, renewal, and a great visitation. You're therefore invited to a great Lord's Visitation Crusade and Fire Conference at Ndegiruboa, NSSF grounds from 30th October to 6th November 2022. The Fire Conference starts at 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Great Crusade starts at 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. We have great preachers led by evangelist Randy Roberts, Jennifer Wild, Reverend Dr. Robert Ampere Coffee from Ghana, and many national preachers. Revival is here.
Yes, a very good evening to you tuned into UBC TV. We thank you so much for following our programs and welcome to this week's edition of UBC One-on-One with Michael Jordan Lukomwa. We discuss variety, and this time round we'll go political a little bit. We launched this program, UBC One-on-One with Michael Jordan Lukomwa, during the 2021 general elections, where we talked to all the presidential candidates that were in the race. And among them, we failed to get the four. That was the candidate Museveni, candidate Katumba Oye, candidate Bobby Wine, and candidate Mao, but we managed to get the rest. Among the men that we got, we wanted to find out what life is like with them and how far with their political journeys. So we are going to talk to one of them. We hear he now currently has even a political party and it is moving. What next with him and his political journey in general. So join me, welcome Mr. Joseph Kabuleta Kiza. He's with us this evening as we get to find out a lot to do with his political business. Sir, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
We met you in Jinja when you were there on your campaign trail, and that's the last time you featured on this program. How were the elections in your view as a candidate, generally, in a statement? How did you end it?
We ended it. Of course, the elections were very complicated. Remember, there was rules that applied to some people, rules that didn't apply to others. Remember, they used COVID as a means to despoil the whole process. So we had issues. You know, everywhere you go, you're followed by police, and even where you met me, when we were actually just at the hotel where I was staying, as soon as my car would come out, the local police would be following me. And I'm supposed to be there, and this, according to the calendar. So it was, you know, the elections the way they are. So you go and even go to a place. Even on Sunday I went to a church. The police came and were around the church just to see you out of their place. And they were under instructions, of course. So it was a very disparate direction. But the purpose of me entering was for people to know what I stand for, and to listen to my idea of what Uganda can be and should be, and our financial liberation message that was why I was there. And I'm glad that so many people learned about me and that message at that time. So in that regard, at least some success was achieved in spite of all the other problems.
That's where I was going. In as far as driving that message is concerned, out of 100, how much do you think you achieved?
In as far as driving that message was concerned, in lieu of all the other extenuating circumstances, perhaps I achieved like 50%.
Okay.
And that is all in lieu of all the other circumstances. Now, if it was a normal election without all this COVID and all that and so on, and I achieved what I achieved, it would have been like maybe 5%. But then there were so many other things that had to be taken into account. You could admit more than, at the start of the election, 70 people. Now imagine an election where you cannot meet more than 70 people. Then as the elections progressed, they increased to 200 people. But still, imagine you travel to a place and the maximum number of people you can meet is 200. And if there are more than 200, of course, sometimes there would be a bit slightly more. But if there are more than, then the police come in and then they start dispersing people and it gets ugly, and I didn't like that. So it was a difficult thing.
I've talked to people and they say if you want to be an MP in Uganda, you must save some 300 million to $1 billion. What is the picture of one to contest for president in Uganda? How expensive or cheap was it for you?
It's of course every election
to traverse 120 something districts.
I didn't, because we had 2 months.
Okay.
We had exactly 60 days, and we had to travel 146 districts. And of course, the person who makes the calendar that tight does it for a reason. For him, he has been going around the country, Operation World Creation. For him, he's flying in a chopper. You can't do 2 districts a day. And even if you did 2 districts a day, still, you would not complete the whole districts, you understand? You'd only do 120 districts out of 146. Now, because you spend a lot of time traveling, a lot of time in the car, and very little time doing what you're actually supposed to do, which is meeting people and campaigning and, you know, telling people what you're all about. So for him, he's traveling in a chopper. And so, my schedule was somehow near him. So I was seeing he's in Lango, then that same day he's in Karamoja, then the same day he's in Teso, because he has a chopper. Now, how can I move from Lira to Moroto and back to Soroti in a day? I can't. Even if that was all I was doing and I wasn't having to campaign, it's impossible. So, of course, the elections are put to give an advantage to somebody. But I moved as far as I could. At least I traveled every region, and that was important because some districts are too close to each other. For instance, you go to Lira, you don't have to, you would love to go to Kole, but Kole is a small district, not far away from Lira. Even though the people work in Kole district, actually, most of them stay in Lira.
Yes.
So it's a district of its own, but now if you have 60 days to travel 146 districts, then, you know, if I go to Lira, it's probable that the people in Kole, you know, had me.
You can access them in a way.
One way or another. Or at least you'd call people from Kole to come and, you know, if they are your coordinators and so on. So it was difficult like that, but nothing that I didn't expect. So I went about it, and my message was hard.
This is not only you. I had a chance to talk to Dr. Besje. He was in the rest for 4 times. I talked to General Montu. I talked to... You all say, we expected this, but you still come to this race. Why? Because you all say, we expect the drama, we expect not to be allowed to access here and there, but you still come to this race. What pushes you to come to something you know it's already bumpy?
Because, like, I mean, what choice do you have? So if you know that an exam is difficult, what do? You don't sit it. There's only one guaranteed way.
If you have an alternative.
No, there is none. That's the point. If you have to pass the exam, you have to sit it. And it's the only way. It's a difficult exam, I'll sit it. Maybe I'll pass, but I know it's bumpy. That's, I mean, there are things which you cannot run away from. and you just have to get them over with. And that's what this is one of them. But the people enter races for different reasons, and people measure their success at different levels,
basing on the reasons why they entered the race.
Basing on that, and at different levels. I'll give you an example from, let's say, football. Now, when the Premier League starts, there are clubs which say we want to win the league, and if they don't win the league, they can even fire the manager. Okay, because they set that as their standard.
Yes.
Then
that's the target for going into the race.
Yes. Then the others who say if we finish 4th, that's success. Then the others who say if we don't get relegated, that's success. So now everyone has their level. Now, if I entered at a certain level of measuring my success, of me wanting to propagate my message to the people in 2021, the next race I'm entering with a totally different mindset. Now this time it's to win. That time I knew I didn't have a chance of winning. Okay, even if it had been a free and fair election. But there was a reason I entered. And I was going to gauge my success only in lieu of my purpose of entry. Okay. So, and that's the only place I can give myself marks.
So after elections, where did the Kabuleta go?
He's here.
Where has he been?
There has not been any single...
You see, I'm asking like that ordinary Ugandan deep in Iganga. Where has Kabuleta been?
There has not been any single former presidential candidate that has been more active than Kabuleta, not even Museveni. Okay? None.
What do you mean by that?
No. I have moved across this country twice from 2021. Across all regions of the country twice from 2021.
Doing what?
I'm meeting people and still preparing my political platform. Has the president done that or any other candidate? No. I have... I was independent in 2021. I'm not going to be independent at the next election. I was closed in, really. Now I have a whole group of people across the country who are part of initially my political movement, now my political party. So there is not a single person who between January 14th rather, 2021, and to date who has done more in the political field than myself.
Maybe you have not followed them that much.
You tell them to me.
Compare.
No, you tell them to me. You who is a journalist and has followed them, tell me one whom you think has done that.
The NRM, because you're looking
No, I'm not talking about candidates. I'm not talking about parties. I'm talking about candidates.
The difference, you were an independent candidate.
Yes.
Your colleagues, a good number of them, were candidates sponsored by parties.
No, even then, sponsored by parties or not, tell me which candidate, sponsored by a party or not, has traveled across Uganda twice, even if you added Museveni with his chopper, in this 1 year after elections. None. And you know that's the truth. So, ask him where I've been around. I've been all over the place. I am as active now as I've ever been. Actually, I'm at the peak of my activity. And everything is moving on so smoothly. So, there is nobody who has even shaped the direction of discourse in the country like I have.
What kind of feedback do you get, have you drawn from wherever you have been? And as far as your endeavors are concerned?
Incredible feedback. When we started talking about Uganda's natural resources and how nobody is talking about them. We released a budget. It has money gotten from taxes, but nobody is talking about natural resources. Now, for the first time, the previous budget, because of Kabuleta, there was a small tax from minerals. Small tax. Now, there are periodic, statements from Bank of Uganda of how much money the country is earning from selling gold. That's all because of me. It was not there before. In all the 20-something years before I came and talked about our country's natural resources, it wasn't there. As well as a few other things, which now are going to become a source of concern for all the other people. Okay? And I'll just mention that because that's really the peak of our message. Because what kind of country can you have where not even Parliament is discussing the national resources? And it's not like you don't have them, they are there.
Parliament does. The other day they passed a bill.
Passing a bill is different from saying that tell us...
What else would Parliament do apart from passing bills
appropriating,
that regulates?
Parliament is supposed to say if we are passing a budget, where is the money that because we can tell from international export and import that we exported $1.2 billion worth of gold. Where is it in this budget? So they task the Minister of Finance, who is giving them a draft budget, to tell us where is the gold we export reflected in this budget. Did they do that? No, they didn't. So now a budget is not just appropriating funds which they told you are there. You're also supposed to say there is a lot more funds that you're supposed to bring on this table for us to split, but you have not.
You have traveled the country as a candidate, and you say...
No, as a politician. Okay, as a candidate first.
Yes, and now as a politician, who is not a candidate, but who is selling. How would you describe Uganda with the view that you have gathered all over the country?
I would describe Uganda as a very rich country with very poor people. And
very
all
rich
that...
country
Yes.
with very poor people.
Yes. And all that because of poor leadership. And the source of all problems in Africa is leadership. That is the genesis and of all the issues of Africa.
So I want you to connect the leadership and the poverty of the people. Plus again, there are three denominators that you have mentioned. The country is rich, people are poor, and the leadership on the side. How do you connect the three?
Oh, it's very connectable, because I'll give you an example. In places where there has been good leadership, okay, I'll first give you one where there has been bad leadership. Angola. They discovered about 30 years ago, towards the end, coming into the new millennium, very huge deposits of gold, of diamonds, and of oil. And I'm talking huge deposits. Now, Angola had a GDP. At some stage, they were growing at 30% annually. GDP growth of 30%. Do you know what that means? I'll give you an example. If America grew 5%, okay, America is not a bad example because those countries grow small.
Yes.
But if any other country even managed 8%, they are doing very good.
That is true.
Angola was doing 30% for a period of like 3 years. It fell down to 24%.
Under Dos Santos.
Under Dos Santos.
Whom you say, bad leader.
Very terrible leader. No, the issue is not that.
Okay.
The issue is that the poverty, all the money was siphoned abroad. And you go to the city itself, very extreme poverty, very high crime rate. Because the money is not getting through to the people. It's not siphoning, it's not being siphoned down to the people.
Yes.
So it stops at the end. Now you go to a place like Luanda, which is the capital of Angola, and you can get a cup of cappuccino at $30. That's about 100,000 Uganda shillings, a cup of cappuccino. And there are people who are sitting there taking it and who have money. And just move across, less than 2 kilometers across, and there are people who do not even spend $30 in 6 months, who are in extreme poverty. Now that's what bad leadership does. Now it's not that there are no rich people, because all these resources here, there are people who are rich, but all of them were members of one family. So now when eventually he was taken off power, the country found that they were broke. After they had sold about $600 billion of just oil. $600 billion. They did, that is even without the diamonds and without even the gold. And yet they were poor. Now, do you know what? It's not a big population country.
Yes.
Now, if the country earned as much as that, and actually there was good leadership, man, those people would be very rich, all of them.
You want to say you see that in Uganda?
That's exactly where Uganda would be if we had those sort of resources under Museveni. That's why you see so many people coming out saying we don't want the oil pipeline to come in Museveni's regime. Because they know what is going to happen. It's going to benefit a few people. It's not going to benefit the country. Now they will accuse them of being unpatriotic because they are fighting something which is going to benefit the country, but it is not. Now those rich people who stay, who are buying cappuccinos at $30, they have to stay within a certain part of the city. They dare not drive their cars outside and go there. The minute you drive your car, you are carjacked. If you're lucky, you're killed. If you're lucky, you escape with your life. But they take your car and and everything. Where people, even a mobile phone is a commodity worth killing somebody for. In a country which was at $600 billion, which had an economic growth of 30% per annum for a short period of like 3 years. So now go across to Botswana. Botswana currently has a GDP per capita, or income per capita, of about closing in on $8,000. US dollars. They are middle income, threatening upper middle income. Now, Uganda has less than 1,000.
Yes.
Although the fake statistics of Museveni say we're at 1,046, but that's out fake. Now, that means they are 8 times richer than us, and that's GDP per capita. Now, go to Botswana and see the kind of life. Go and see where their policemen stay. Their policemen stay in powerful buildings, which are almost like workers' house. Powerful flats, living very good life. Those are the policemen. And they are soldiers. Go and see where they stay. And then go and see the life that the common person is leading. And you see this is real development. Do you know why? Leadership. Because they had a leader, the first president after independence. I think they were blessed. Because you see in countries like ours, when you get somebody who thinks who is a good leader, you're lucky. Now, for them, they got somebody who actually set himself, a post-independence president, who set himself term limits. He ruled 1 term for just, I brought you to independence. Then he set term limits. And then he respected that. Actually, even he died before the end of his 2nd term of cancer. But then, because he had set it himself, they have had exchanges of leadership which are seamless, very comfortable, no fighting, nothing. And now the standard of living in Botswana is so high. You see? So high. And because of that now, that's what leadership does. Does Botswana have the resources of Angola? Not even a 1/5 of them. They don't. If Botswana had the resources of Angola, they would be first world.
I've listened to you for some good minutes, and as if I've observed something that you opposition people are blamed for. Somebody says you get drunk of the name Museveni. When you listen to yourself, do you observe that?
Now, the thing is, if somebody has been, he's the president of the country, unfortunately. I mean, I would wish he wasn't. Nobody would talk about him. He would be just some insignificant man looking after his cattle. Who would be talking about him? Now, the point is, if somebody is a president, and if I want to his position, how can I be drunk? No, I'm not drunk on him. Like, he's the president of the country. We are what we are because of him. Because he has the reins of leadership. Now, as soon as he relinquishes the reins of leadership, he will not be on anybody's mouth. He will be totally insignificant, like he should be. Okay? So, what we are talking about is the office, not the man. The man, now the office is what we're interested in. Once he leaves us with the office and he goes, he can go anywhere.
Okay. So you start a political party. Who gave you the idea, having passed through an election as an independent candidate? What came over you to think that now you need a party?
Of course, everybody, like the thing is, politics, a party is an organization that gives you the legal framework to go and do all your political activity. In the absence of a party, somebody asks, what are you doing? You're doing this as what? But you see, our laws give political parties a certain leverage.
Okay.
Now, even when those laws are not respected, but at least there is a law that covers your activities. Now, as a leader of a political party,
there is more space for you to act as a political
there
party.
There is more legal space
than as an individual.
Yes. Now, the reality might be different, police and what and all that, whatever. But at least legally, there is more space for you to act as a political party. And now you can sue, you can be sued. Okay? You are an entity. Now, so if somebody was suing Need, that would be different from suing me. But independent, you're just there. You're an activist. Okay. So now this is a step. Now, if I could do the things I wanted to do as an independent, I would have did a political party. But now it is there. Now that's what it is, and that's a step forward. And then also there are people who believe in you when you go, and they want to know what are we joining. Okay. So if you do not have a political party, it becomes difficult for you to gather them under your wing, because you're gathering them under what?
Ugandan political parties have been blamed of being personal properties. Yes, you will find the FDC being blamed of being Besige. The NRM is being blamed of being Museveni. Many people today look at Nupa as Bobby Wine. What is the gap? Is there a gap between Kabuleta and Need?
Can we have need without Kabuleta? But the thing is, because of the
politics we've been having.
Yes, we can have need without Kabuleta. But the thing is, because of the politics we've been having, remember we had to come of individual 20-something years, okay? Parties were demonized. Now there were parties before which had outlasted the people. Now there were parties before which had outlasted the people who started, like UPC. Now when Museveni came, he set out to destroy those parties. Now those were parties which could have formed a foundation for other people who want to contest for power. Go through the party, so that if you come out as the president of DP, then you have the whole structure of DP. But he has spent all the years in power trying to destroy them. Then now when you create other parties post individual merit, those parties are still going to have the DNA of individual merit, even though you are trying to create a party. But it is our intention to make sure that after a few years of need, it is entrenched enough for it to be stronger and more pronounced than whoever it is that might happen to lead it some stage from now, let's say 15 years from now.
What is that unique within its DNA that will make it different from other parties that have failed to achieve the same?
No, some of them have actually tried, because, but within very, very, very complicated surroundings, you know that. You go, you say, let's say you're FDC. Then you go and start trying to establish structures down in the villages. You try that and you see what the resistance that you come up against.
So what is need?
Because somebody...
How safe is need from that?
No, we're not safe, and we don't want to be safe. We are going to try to do it in spite of whatever difficulties there is. But then the thing is, what we do not want is armchair commentators like yourself to blame people, to sit down and blame people who have tried and have come against a lot of resistance because they have tried. And then you do not blame the people who are actually breaking the law in stopping a political party from establishing itself on the ground, because they have the right to do that by law. Now, you will not blame the people who are stopping them, but you will blame the parties. How come you did not do this? You've not done this. But do you know what they have tried to do? Do you know what obstacles they've run into? And do you know how they've put themselves at risk just trying to do things which, in an ordinary country, they should be in a position to go and do without any risk whatsoever, because they are just doing what is enshrined in their rights as a party. But you see, and a lot of people will not know what opposition parties go through. They just stand at the side and say, you should have done this. I mean, okay, yes, we should have done it. Do you know what we've tried to do? Do you know what we're up against? So, and why don't you talk to the person who is using all the institutions in government, the police, the military, the courts, the what and everything, to stifle political opposition?
You see, when I meet a sheikh, I'll discuss Islam. Definitely when I meet a pastor, we'll talk the Bible. I have a chance now to talk to an opposition politician. Definitely I will ask what is appropriate with you.
Yes, and you are asking, and I'm telling you.
When I meet the sheikh, definitely I will ask him.
Yes. Now,
the very concerns that you have.
No, there is nothing wrong with what you've asked. What I'm telling you is that you should balance. Go and ask these people, why are you stopping political parties from establishing themselves, yet they have the right to do so?
But here is need establishing and getting stronger.
No, so far...
if I'm to take your word.
So far, but who knows what's coming ahead? Okay? Who has any guarantee on what's coming ahead? But we'll try, and we're going to do it. And we'll try regardless of the obstacles. And they will be there. There will be obstacles. That's what we tell you, that all the presidential candidates told you. We knew this was going to happen.
Do you want Museveni out of power on issues, or you are angry with the man?
It's the office we want. Let him lose that title of president and we'll see if anybody will even care.
How do you want to get him out of power? Democratically, what means are you looking at as need?
We would wish democratically, but you remember what he said himself. Do you remember the excuse he gave for going to the bush? That if all democratic means of change of power have been closed, we have no choice. His words, not mine. You remember that? I can get you the clip.
So do you want to be his students as need?
No, the point is that that's him. Me, all I want is a free and fair election. If I fail in a free and fair election, fair game. I'm not going to the bush. All I want is a free and fair election, and I have a chance to convince people to vote for me. And if they vote somebody else and he has beaten me fair and square, I'm going to go and sit down and maybe try my luck next time.
Let's take a short break. It's UBC One-on-One. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the break, but we still have more to discuss.
Welcome to the Living Room Stadium. It's the FIFA World Cup. The match is about to start. Food and drink ready. There's no space left for anyone. Come on, get your lucky chair. Take your usual spot. Even the puppy has one. It's preparation time. You can feel the tension in the air. And do you have everything you need to believe?
In the year 2020, the world was brought to a standstill because of the COVID-19 pandemic. We lost friends, we lost relatives, we lost workmates during that very, very trying time. And we decided that we could remember them by establishing what we call the Remember Me book. We also appeal all Ugandans to plant a tree. We are aiming at 1 million trees in memory of those who departed from us.
We call upon individuals and institutions that lost any loved one to join us by donating and dedicating 1,000 trees at 1 million Ugandan shillings or more. To donate, trees call 0700-513-660. This message is brought to you by My Tree Initiative.
UBC One-on-One, thank you so much for watching and welcome back from the break. We are talking to former presidential candidate and now party president of the Need Party that we are going to know, whose details we are going to know more this evening, Mr. Kabuleta Kiza Joseph. Welcome back from the break, sir.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President currently. So, how would you describe the multi-party dispensation in Uganda? We started, after independence, Uganda started with parties. They got problems. Ugandans are talked about as people that misunderstood multipartyism, whereby they ended up having hatred even within the villages. That a Muganda Catholic would not greet an Anglican because this one was believed to be DP, the other one UPC. Then there were those that belonged to parties of workers. They had issues with other people, things like that. We get parties abolished and the reinstatement in 2006. Here we are. New ones are coming in. The traditional parties are shrinking, I would say. So how would you describe the field where you're registering a new kind of entity?
First of all, parties are like that everywhere in the world.
Really?
Yes. I mean, countries have had democracy for hundreds of years. You go and see the animosity between Republicans and Democrats in America.
Yes, but those are parties of how many years old?
That's my point. Parties, the way they were at the start of the parties. Of course, we know that. You know, I had a scenario where a friend of mine told me that his mother went and bought nice curtains for the house, which were red.
Yes.
And the father came home and pulled them down and they slept without curtains because the father is a DP and he could not stand red curtains.
UPC color in his house.
UPC color in his house. So they eventually went and got green curtains, which were very ugly. And now when the woman was thinking of the color of the curtains, she wasn't thinking party. She was thinking beauty.
But such mentality among the ordinary people.
It happens. That is the birth. But eventually, if those parties had been let to nurture themselves, it ceases to be petty. And then it starts becoming, this party is, because the parties, for instance, in democratic countries like America, they have been defined by different things. At some stage, for instance, the slavery was a big issue. So now the Democrat Party was the party which was pushing for slavery to continue. The Republicans were pushing for end of slavery.
Yes.
Then different issues, parties take different sides. Now when the issue is slavery, the parties take different sides. When the issue is black representation, let's say in Congress, they take different sides.
Yes.
When the issue is civil rights, they take different sides. So now, when a country develops, different issues emerge over a course of so many years.
Why have we failed to see that in Africa?
Because the parties were not allowed to stay long enough.
In Africa, let me give you a case. In Africa, you realize that traditional parties are getting problems, not only in Uganda actually. When you look at maybe Chama cha Mapinduzi has stood the test of time, and KANU in South Africa. No, the ANC, I beg your pardon. Come to Kenya. the biggest party, I think one would say, is no more. Every election there are new parties that come up, and among the new parties, one will take the day.
There is nothing wrong with that, because eventually after
haven't parties in Africa failed to send their message down to the...
They have not had the time for development, because all those parties we are talking about, the Conservatives and the Labour Party, all of them were created over a long period of time. Now, Kenya, there was KANU, which was a single party. And even when they went into multi-party in 1992, still it was almost single party under Moi. So KANU never had competition 20 years ago. Okay? After Kenya went into elections, 2002, post-Moi. That's when now KANU had in a competition. Now, 20 years, you're comparing with people who have been in democracy for 250 years. It's not comparable. Now, if those parties were allowed to develop, now if UPC and DP, as they were, and even Conservative Party, had been allowed to grow without Museveni coming and doing everything in his power to stifle them, after some time, they would not be just about Catholics and Baganda and then here Protestants. No, it would be, they develop issues, because now the issue of religion and tribe would cease to be a big issue. Other issues come up. Then DP takes a different direction, UPC takes a different direction, maybe the Conservative Party takes a different direction. Now that those parties are defined by the issue of the day differently. Then if that even lasts 10 years, then another issue comes up later on, and still the parties now hinge on those different issues that the country is going through at that time. But they have never been allowed time. The democracy here has never been allowed time to develop anywhere in Africa. First of all, after independence, all the leaders who led their countries to independence had the sense of they had to rule for life. The Mugabes, the others even had it, like even Kenneth Kahunde, although he was convinced to leave. Nyerere was also convinced to leave, but Kenyatta, you see, died in power, and so many others. And they go through that phase where people think we led you to independence, we have the right to be president until life. But then after that, they come and start organizing themselves. And over a period of time, the country starts changing, and leaders stop having the mentality that they are supposed to rule for life. The problem with Uganda is that Museveni has a 1962 mentality in 1986. So he's behaving as if he's the one who led Uganda to independence. Now, if he had led Uganda to independence, generally across Africa, they just let those leaders die in power. Even Mugabe would have been let to die in power if he was not trying to groom his wife to be president. So that is the only thing that made them stand up and say, no, 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 we are not. But otherwise, they were waiting for him to die. They were not going to remove him from power until he started trying to have a say in who comes after him. Now, why? Because he was imprisoned 11 years fighting for independence. So they kind of let them be. So now the issue we have had is, if parties, even now, let's say post-Museveni in Uganda, if parties, every party, whatever party exists, DP, UPC, NEED, FDC, and all the rest, NOPE, and all that, even NRM, if they party, if all of them were allowed to just develop organically, after some time you would know that NRM stands for this, NOPE stands for this one stands for that, and people would vote for them on issues.
At that very point.
Yes.
So this is where you're bringing a new political party.
Yes.
How do you expect, or what plans do you have to thrive through a situation like that, both in the sense of the whole African continent and even the challenges you mentioned that are here nationally?
Of course, in the whole African continent, we can look at the negative examples which are there. Countries which have failed to achieve anything close to independence. I mean, rather close to democracy. But then we can also look at Kenya, who are our neighbors. How come post-Moi, 2002, they've had a credible election? Let me tell you, there were election observers who went to Kenya, foreign election observers. There was one from Uganda, whom I spoke to, who was an election observer in Kenya, along with all the other foreign observers from the European Union, from the African Union, who were there. They carried out a separate tally of votes, run alongside the one which was done by EBC. And their separate tally came up with the exact figure that the IEBC announced. So the lady told me that was a very credible election, because all of us went and they did all their tallying, and then they came up with the same figure, Ruto winning by 50.4. 49. And they said, let's see what is going to be announced. And that was what was announced. Now, why can't we look to Kenya, which actually had a flawless, as close to flawless an election as you can ever have? Why do we look at bad examples? So me, I'm not going to look at other countries which have failed. I'm going to look at Kenya. We can also have that here, where there is an election where everybody says, I didn't like this candidate, but he's the one who people chose. And everybody goes to work.
Besides state interference, because that's how I would term your concern about parties, state interference in their growth. Besides that, what do you think fails political parties in Uganda?
Of course, that's a major thing, state interference.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, logistics, which also have the state in them. You go, if you have a political party like NEED, you go and try to source for funds abroad, and you get, let's say, sponsors, and you see what these people would do to try to stop you from having that money coming to this country, even if it is legitimate money, as long as they know that it is coming for a political party. Yet even the NRM itself, the only money, they're getting money from foreigners. Okay? It might not come to finance their party, it might come for other reasons, but they use it to finance their party. Now, you try that, and you see. Logistics, which also fall under state interference. Then, state interference, which is of the militaristic, violent nature. Then, infiltration. Still logistics. Because
have you encountered any of those?
Very much so. Very, very, very much so.
Can you give us some examples?
I can't go into details, but I mean...
share just a little.
Yeah. Of what?
Of the challenges, that the infiltrations that you have encountered. Have your accounts been infiltrated? Have they stopped some fundings? How have you been attacked? Probably the country may need to know something.
You know what I usually find is journalists who are asking, but who is sponsoring you? And they are spies and posing as journalists. So now you might be one of them. So there are questions I answer and there are questions I don't answer. Now, I do my activities. How I do them is my business. And where I get funding, whatever small funding there is.
Actually, I was not asking about where you get them.
But I know for sure
the state interferes with the funding.
I know
of
if it is interferable, they will interfere. If you keep it, but there's some which is uninterferable because they can't locate it. Unlocatable. Yes, because you have to survive within the environment that you're in.
Does need fall in that kind of a category?
We have had all those issues. We don't want to expound on them, but we've had all those issues. You have issues, by the way, and they have only just started. I'll be very honest with you. They have only just started. Now, of course, the bigger you get, the bigger the issues.
Why do you find a problem, somebody asking you how you get funds to fund? Because this is a political party is meant to be a public-owned kind of organization. Where you have started it for national good, for Ugandans to express their natural rights on governance.
Now,
why do you find it a problem, me to ask you about its funding and sources of its funding?
Because you're speaking as if you're not a Ugandan. If I actually ever reviewed anything, and I cannot, even if they put my scrotum on a board and they were going to split it open, I cannot reveal anything about where I get from. Because if I did, I would be destroying people's businesses. Because that's what they do. If any businessman dared give me even $1,000 and they got to know him, that would be the end of his business. So now, why do you think, whereas in other countries, I'll give you in other places, funding, source of funding is open. It's even open funding. They'll even tell you that for this election, this candidate has gathered this amount of money, because they know it is all in the money and it is in well-wishers. Now here, there is nothing. Anybody who is known is going to be crushed, especially if they are funding somebody like me. They are going to be crushed. And they do that for smaller things than even being with me.
I'll bring the funding now somewhere later. What does the NEED party stand for?
For NEED?
What are those issues that you stand for?
We stand for economic empowerment.
Okay.
We stand for equitable distribution of national resources across the country. We stand for each region in the country having a say and a good fraction of the resources that their region was blessed with to start with. So if they are getting resources of a certain kind from a different region, and we're talking about the 15 regions that form the country, if they are getting the people, the first beneficiaries should be the people at source, who should say, if we discover gold in your place, you should be the first beneficiaries of the gold. And here is the percentage you're going to get. It might be given in the form of building of amenities, say like hospitals and roads and things like that, or it can be given through systems that aid people to do businesses. Not through personal handouts, we don't do that, but through systems that can help people to start businesses and so on. So they are the original beneficiaries of the resources. That's what we stand for in a nutshell.
Okay. Now, you have been blamed for a number of things. Your party has been received in different ways. We normally say with mixed reactions.
Like every party.
Yes. There are people saying you're too angry.
Angry at what?
In a way you express what you stand for.
Let me tell you, the scenario we are going through, the kind of state of this nation, if you're not angry, you're stupid. There's only two alternatives. Imagine a scenario now like what has just happened. Okay? A young man, very intelligent, very articulate. I'm talking about Jakana Naduli, picked in a state where he's fragile, following an accident. Picked, taken, and he is returned on the verge of death, and he dies. How can you not be angry? Unless you don't have a heart. So you want us to talk normally as if we are in America, like as if it's normal politics?
So you
now,
are angry.
Let me tell you, I'm angry at what is happening to our country. And I have no choice. Now, if I wasn't, I would be a fool.
So far, what is the relationship between you and NEED and your other colleagues on the opposition side?
I mean, we as NEED.
Yes.
And our colleagues on the opposition side.
Yes.
We are a new party. We haven't been in place for 2
you,
weeks.
the man, you're not new. The leader of NEED, you are not new.
No, I'm not new, but as a party, we are new. And now when you get a party, you start having all sorts of people coming and joining you. So now we are going to start forging relationships with other parties. And we are in the process of doing that, and which is very important. Other opposition parties, other like-minded parties, and there are so many. And we are just beginning our phases of charting out those relationships.
Okay. What do you feel about those that have not welcomed you? Have all opposition parties welcomed you, embraced you with really open arms?
I'm not a fool to think everybody is going to welcome me. Who have they ever welcomed 100%?
I'm talking about those people with whom you hold the same views.
I don't expect everybody to welcome me. I do not. That is the most presumptuous thing. So I know there will be some people who are maybe discomforted by my presence, but there will be some others who would welcome me, and they are there. And they already, those who are interested in, seeing how we can work together, and that's a good thing.
So you have people that have welcomed you positively?
Yes.
And you have still had those that have not welcomed you?
I do not know if they have not welcomed me, but I expect them. I have not encountered those who have not welcomed me, but I expect them because that's natural, isn't it?
What do you think about a rumor that you are sponsored by the regime? What do you think about that rumor?
Who is not sponsored by the regime? That you know of? Who of the opposition parties has not been accused of being sponsored by the regime? And I want you to tell me...
Many of them have come out and they're very bitter about it.
What do you mean?
Many of them, your colleagues in the opposition, yes, all of them almost have been blamed for that. But they come out and really complain about it and abuse whoever says it.
Do you know where those rumors usually come from?
No.
From the regime itself. It is the first line of fighting you. That's our person. And it's a very cheap thing. It's a very, very cheap thing. It reminds me of when we were young people And there's this person who when you come and tell him, I'm in love with this girl, he says, hey, that one, I passed there. I've been there before. So everybody, and he's lying, he's talking rubbish. So now that's how NRM is. Eh? They just go on, they put themselves on everybody. Me, Kabuleta, sponsored by NRM. Do you know how much I despise everything they stand for? Like, and I'm a very principled person, by the way. I cannot go for anything else that is less than principle. And everything they stand for, I mean the party, not the people. There are people inside there who are decent people, but perhaps are just looking to earn a living and all that. Eh? And they are just, they are entrapped inside there. And they are very angry. Some of them are even angrier than us who are outside here expressing our anger. And some of them even, you encounter them, and they say, I'm even going to buy for you a cup of tea because I like the things you're saying. But he's inside the party. But his heart is with you. So I don't worry about people. People are in places for different reasons. Earning a living, blah, blah, blah. I am concerned about
what you're chasing.
Yes. And
you are blamed again of making statements that may cause clashes among tribes, social groups. The other day I had the Minister of Information not happy with you about some statements to do with vaccination.
Yes.
Then these issues to do with natural resources. Some people think you make statements that may lead to clashes among tribes and things like that. What do you think? How else is there any other way you can handle these issues?
No, here is the point. The statements I make about natural resources cannot cause a clash among tribes. They will only cause the people in the region to stand up to exploitation.
If 2026 political parties on the opposition come up with an idea of all of you uniting behind one person, shall we see need behind Kabuleta, behind Katumba Oye, if he happens to have a political party behind Besigye, Bobby Wine, or whoever?
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Like now,
I think by the look of things, you can make an imagination what
it depends on first of all which political parties are there, what they are uniting around, what is the ideology behind they are uniting, and so on. Because that's a bridge we cannot cross until we get there. We are 4 years away from that period. So why would I answer a question now for 4 years from now?
4 years. At least that business in the next 2 years will already be on the charts and everything.
When it comes, I will answer the question.
Okay, what kind of message would you have to Ugandan watching you as we wind up?
My message to Ugandans is pure and simple. The biggest problem we are facing right now is economic disempowerment. And now what it causes is people having a beggar mindset, a handout mindset. So people are waiting for handouts from government. And yet actually, we are a rich country. If people are empowered through, number one, the advantages that we have as a nation, and we have so many of them. Look at this country. Is there any country that has the minerals that we have, or all the wealth that we have beneath the soil? I'm talking about the extractives like oil, I'm talking about minerals. Is there any nation that has all the arable land that we have? Remember, Uganda has 49.7% of all the arable land in East Africa. All the other 4 countries, I'm talking before East Africa was expanded, the other 4 countries share the other half. So we have a lot of advantages. And we have a lot of tourism potential, we have so many things. So now why are we importing things which we are supposed to be exporting? Uganda imports a lot of agricultural produce, yet we have all the arable land. Why? Because we've destroyed our agricultural produce. We've destroyed our ability for people to grow, you know, and make money from it. These are things which once happened. So now our thing of economic empowerment is a scenario where in 2 years, when Kabuleta is president, in 2 years, everybody's life is totally different, and you are unrecognizable from the person that started out when I became president. Why? Because I would empower you to make money for yourself. You will never need a handout from government because you will be a very rich person earning your own money and with your own dignity, and only then shall we be able to have a proper democracy. Because now a democracy where people are very poor and are selling their votes for $2,000 is not a democracy. I mean 2,000 shillings rather, not dollars. It's not a democracy. A democracy is where somebody doesn't need anything. The only thing he needs is for you to convince him that you are the best leader. And then you go and convince him. That's the proper democracy. Now that's what we want to build in our country. And it all starts with economic empowerment And that's what we are pushing for, and that is the ideology of the new National Economic Empowerment Dialogue Party, NED. Thank you very much.
We thank you so much for whatever we have shared. His name is Joseph Kiza Kabuleta. I will not add much on what his concerns are, but that's what his party is standing for, and that's where he is ever since we talked to him in 2021 during the elections. My name is Michael Jordan Lukomwa with the whole team here. Wish you the best of the night. Bye-bye.
This week on UBC.
It's the freak himself, DJ Santos, the problem.
Oh my God!
From the blue